documentary. This is a documentary by Turkey Tom. Turkey Tom's a great channel. Does a lot of documentaries, good stuff. And one thing, once again, everybody has their niche. Everybody thinks things they do well. I like to do the in-depth legal deep dives, getting into the details, going through everything on the cases that I cover. And I don't blame other channels, whether that's his channel or Nux or Asmongold or anybody else, for not knowing every detail of the Johnny Somali case. Even people that cover it closely, like Atozi, a friend of mine, right, who we've met, we've collaborated, we talk. Even he will occasionally get a detail wrong. And to be fair, occasionally I'll have to make corrections as well. Nobody's perfect. But one thing that these documentaries do is they're really engaging. They do a lot. They have a lot of good images. They have a lot of good captures. They use a lot of good footage. And I really want to, give appreciation and, positive attention to this creator who created this really great documentary. It's got over 400,000 views already on his channel, and go through and make it even more awesome with legal commentary. So we're going to go through this. This was put out just 2 weeks ago, and we're going to give some commentary to it. So if you guys, want to go about, you want to crack a beer, you want to get some, get some soju, whatever you want to do. I'm going to stick myself in this corner here. Let's start the documentary.
To sacrifice to be famous on the internet? Your dignity? Your safety? Or what about your freedom?
I just want to apologize for what I've done. And
if the answer to these three questions is yes, then you might just be Johnny Somali, one of the most hated streamers in the world.
By the way, I will say one thing about this. Getting good photos is really difficult. So when I see a documentary that's able to pull out good photos and make good photos with really good editing, I'm really impressed by that, because the quality of these photos that he's pulled out is golden. I can't find good enough photos for my thumbnail sometimes, because Ramsey is just ugly in all of them.
Who is now facing a maximum of 31 years in a South Korean prison. But how did it get this bad? Not much is known about the early life of Ramzi Khalid Ismail.
Well, we do know some about his early life. I'll stop here. But one thing I do try to do, and this is something that's a personal ethic of mine, is I try to leave his family out of it. So I generally focus on the crimes of the person, not on their family or extended family. I think that's a little bit unethical to stretch it out there, but I do understand when you're doing a documentary why you might go into that.
Before he began his content creation journey, Johnny was attending Arizona State University. At least that's according to him. He's also claimed to be a real estate manager, a financial advisor, and even the owner of a vape company. As dubious as these claims are, they pale in comparison to his supposed ethnic background. He claims that he is half Ethiopian and half Somalian, and has claimed to be a former child soldier and Somali pirate, both of which are certainly untrue. What is known is that Johnny
he also claimed to be Jewish, right? And he's not Jewish.
He began uploading videos onto YouTube in October of 2022. Unfortunately, his original YouTube channel has been removed from the platform due to violations that we'll certainly delve into later, meaning that some of these videos in their entirety are lost to time.
Well, they're not lost. We have most of his Korea videos. So for Korea, we've got everything. But for stuff that's like really old, we don't have that, right? So that's, I think, what he's referencing here. By the way, the new channel that's up or was up or etc., that's Hank's channel. So understand that Johnny's channel is still down.
However, judging by the uploads present, Johnny seemed to be focused on vlog-style content, mainly showing off his experience at parties or clubs. After his first video, documenting a Halloween party in Arizona, Johnny had a handful of uploads in Bangkok, Thailand. These vlogs are not offensive by any means. If anything, they seem like innocent and earnest attempts at a career in content creation. Most of his videos only managed to get a few hundred views. However, he seemed to get lucky quite early, with a video titled "The Craziest Club in Bangkok" pulling in nearly 200,000 views in 4 months. Despite the spike in viewership, the content itself was nothing worth subscribing for, and he hardly saw any growth as a result. One viral video simply wasn't going to cut it for Johnny if he wanted to make a name for himself, and he needed to shake things up. This likely explains his decision to begin IRL streaming, something other.
See, and that's a problem, because see, what he got into there was he got into the trap of being addicted to one viral video. So being addicted to viral content, and being addicted to viral content is a trap, because you never know what will go viral when, and trying to chase that is like trying to win the lottery twice. it's something that is going to end up wasting you completely. And it happens to a lot of young creators, and it's really a sad thing because it gets their brain addicted to that dopamine hit of getting famous early, and they're always chasing that, and they're willing to do whatever to get back to that hit. So you almost have to be glad if you don't go viral, and you have to work hard, because then you're more dedicated to the long game than the short game, right? And that I've seen that with many creators on many platforms. It's very much true.
Like Neon, Jack Doherty, and FouseyTube were finding success in at the time.
What? Little bro, what you gonna do? What you gonna do, bro? Yeah.
Of course, Johnny didn't just borrow their format. He also adopted their propensity to disturb the peace and farm clips. And he came up with the...
So that's something that is very much unique to IRL streaming, is the clip farming, and also, you know, trying to create scenarios that are clippable, that go viral, right? That's part of the dark path, right? That's part of the way that you're going to end up in some trouble eventually, particularly if you're IRL streaming abroad, right? It's a problem. Let's continue.
The perfect environment to reign terror in. A country like Japan is a common destination for live streamers looking to spice up their content with its beautiful cities, parks, restaurants, and general culture. However, most creators make it a priority to keep in mind the cultural expectations that come with visiting the land of the rising sun. One of those expectations is engaging in the strict social etiquette expected from Japan's citizens and its visitors, which emphasizes quiet, courteous, and polite behavior while in public.
It's not that hard, right? And anybody who is just polite, like, it's not hard to be polite and courteous and thoughtful. They're not going to expect you in Japan to be fully Japanese, but they're going to expect you to have basic human dignity and courtesy, which is something that these streamers don't have. Basic manners.
Likely that these exact social staples are what drew Johnny Somali in, as they would exacerbate all of his public outbursts. And not only one day in, Johnny would make his presence in the country felt as he began harassing a Japanese citizen while riding the subway.
You know Hiroshima? You know Hiroshima? Nagasaki? You know. Why you do this? Pearl Harbor?
For no discernible reason, Johnny decided it was appropriate to interrogate a random stranger on why they did Pearl Harbor, and brought up Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
So, you know, once again, super offensive, looking for clips, looking for rage bait, and he got it. To be fair, he got what he wanted in that moment. He got the rage, he got the clips, and he was fed that attention at that moment, at that exact moment.
Obviously in reference to when the United States dropped atomic bombs onto those cities.
Nagasaki, you know Hiroshima, Nagasaki. We're gonna do again. What? Hiroshima, Nagasaki. We do again.
This is obviously ridiculous, not only because the man is clearly too young to have been alive or responsible for Pearl Harbor, but also because simply saying the names of two cities is not a clear slight or insult. Outside of the intent, it's just simply confusing. It's essentially the equivalent of walking up to an American and saying, New York City, Dallas, Texas, in the hopes of offending them somehow. This man, obviously confused about what was going on, and maybe even frightened by Johnny's aggressive diatribe, sat there trying to make sense of the situation. Luckily,
yeah, so that would be pretty, you know, just to think about it from like a legal standpoint, right? That would be pretty intimidating. And, you know, certainly there's certain situations where that could be different. I mean, I think about the Vitaly situation where he walked up to a woman and said, I'm going to effing rob you. If Johnny Somali had framed that a little differently, there could have possibly been other charges that could have come from that, I think, in Japan. But definitely not a situation anybody asked to be in.
A fellow American was also on the subway and decided to confront him.
You know. What? What do you mean? Where are you from?
By the way, this guy, super based Korean American, super based, and kind of in a way, this guy, the Korean stopping him, is a metaphor for what happened to him. Ultimately, it was Korea that ultimately has stopped his nuisance streaming reign of terror. So big ups to the Korean that came up and stopped him and said, what the F are you doing?
You know where I'm from?
Where are you from?
I'm from America.
You're from America?
Yes.
So am I.
Johnny, likely
There you go. Boom.
believing he was also Japanese due to him being Asian, began incoherently yelling the names Hiroshima and Nagasaki at him as well. Of course, this also came along with threats of doing Pearl Harbor to you again.
So am I.
You're from America.
Yeah, you're being obnoxious.
You know what we do to you?
What do you do?
We will do again.
Do what?
Hiroshima, Nagasaki. You understand?
Do you think I'm Japanese?
Where are you from?
I'm from America.
Where are you from? What's your ethnicity?
Texas, buddy.
Now, realizing that his insults
I
make
love that. Texas, buddy.
directed at a Korean guy, he begins reminding him of the Korean War.
Korean War. You know what happened to you?
Don't touch me. Obnoxious, brother.
Don't touch me,
Leave this
brother.
guy alone.
Korean War, North Korean War. You know what we did to you?
This line in particular, "you know what we did to you," is extremely funny when you consider that this guy could potentially be and is most likely of South Korean heritage. During the Korean War, the United States allied themselves with South Korea and assisted them in maintaining their sovereignty after North Korea invaded them. Johnny clearly seems to believe the Korean War was fought between the United States and Korea, a country that has technically not existed since 1945. The two would argue for some time before Johnny reached his stop and got off the subway. Fortunately for him, the situation had not escalated any further than a brief confrontation. However, it seems that someone amongst his very small viewership decided to clip this interaction on the subway, and it eventually found its way to both Reddit and Twitter. The clip quickly picked up millions of views and infuriated almost everyone who saw it.
Which also is great because it actually just got him attention but didn't earn him any money, which is hilarious. So Johnny actually didn't earn much money off that himself. It actually just circulated, which is grand.
Took it upon themselves to confront Johnny directly.
No problem. It's no problem.
Over to the other.
It's no problem.
What?
No.
What?
No, we did. Hey, we chill. Bye-bye. We did.
The man eventually gets off his bike and starts walking towards him, which causes a visibly frightened Johnny to begin backing up. After walking away for some time, the man approaches on his bike once again, although he was not nearly as hostile as he would have initially assumed, simply hoping to have a discussion about what had gone down.
Somebody give me your money? No.
See, which by the way, that tells you how polite the culture of Korea, Japan exactly is. That, you know, people want to start by having a conversation with you, but Johnny Somali doesn't want to have a conversation, and he's always disingenuous. He'll always lie and back down and run away, which is sad.
Somebody give me money, and they said, say it.
No.
So I said it on the train.
You say it? Yeah.
Somebody give me money.
Somebody?
You know, donation.
So cool.
Somebody on YouTube and Twitch.
YouTube comment?
Yeah, YouTube comment, give me money.
When asked for a reason as to why he did what he did, he claimed he was told to do so by a donator, which seems to
I love how that's a defense. I love how that's a defense. Oh, I was paid money to do it. So if I paid you money to do something else illegal, you just do it, right? You're just the dancing monkey, so to say, you know, as the expression goes, that, you know, you put $1 in the hat and you're going to do whatever. Like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
to be a blatant lie. But even if someone did give him money, it's not like Johnny had to do what they said. He could have just ignored the donation. He has free will. At least I think he does. Shortly after, the police show up and question Johnny, although he received no real consequences at the time, other than a week-long ban from streaming on Kick.
Which, once again, these week-long bans actually make you more popular. So I'm not a big fan of these week-long bans. I think they're kind of a way to promote you rather than really hurt you. You should be, banned for a serious amount of time.
Primary platform of choice. Aside from that, if anything, he was positively reinforced by the situation, with a whole new set of eyes on his content waiting to see what he would do next. But as it turns out, Johnny wouldn't have to do anything to find his next viral moment. The day he returned to live streaming, Johnny made a promise to clean up his act moving forward. However, while making the promise, he was attacked on the street.
Let's be respectful. You know what I mean? I hope nobody in the chat was saying weird. If I go back and whoa.
Regardless of his stated intentions to respect the Japanese people, a large target remained on his back. And so, there was no incentive for him to behave cordially either, considering that as long as he remained in Japan, he would also remain a prime target for confrontation. A few days later, a group of...
and he knew that. He actually knew that, and he farmed that. So he was farming these interactions and trying to get these people to come after him because he'd be able to use that as content. That's part of his strategy.
Of young men, led by the Japanese YouTubers Rengoku and Guts, vowed to find Johnny and scare him out of the country. And it wasn't long until they located the Airbnb he was staying at. What's more, likely in an attempt to get Johnny banned on Kick, Rengoku stripped completely naked in direct sight of Johnny's camera. Luckily for Johnny, an English and Japanese-speaking translator was able to de-escalate the situation, and Johnny formally issued an apology.
Gomenasai, Japan. Gomenasai. I'm sorry.
Many in the chat, including Johnny's translator, seemed unconvinced that his apology was sincere.
No, I am trying to learn. I told them sorry.
You were barely trying.
I told them sorry.
But regardless, Johnny did have a real chance to turn things around here. The Japanese YouTubers were willing to let sleeping dogs lie and just back off. But Johnny was starting to develop an addiction to an extremely powerful drug, attention. He had gotten a few viral clips on Twitter and Reddit, and while the attention was all negative, his audience was undoubtedly growing, even if all of the newcomers were just there to see whatever shenanigans he got into and encourage his bad behavior. Ultimately, this chance to turn things around would be squandered, as only a day later, Johnny would have the police called on him again for disturbing the peace on the subway.
We are going to police station.
Why? Why police station?
To hear your opinion on their
My passport's okay.
Apparently, one of the men present for the confrontation the night prior was following Johnny and called the police on him when he noticed him acting belligerent. Despite this, the police were kind and
at this point, and this is the thing, you can't go back to being anonymous after that. So you've gone and caused problems, and then you want to go and you want to try to cause more because you're addicted to cause more. But now people are following your every move. This is what happened in Korea. At first, people really didn't give him that much attention. But as he escalated his behavior, people started following him more and more and more. And now we're at the point where I'm making a stream that gets hundreds of thousands of views, and I'm making videos making 100,000 views, which in turn get copied around the internet and get millions of views for every little inch that he crosses, every little breath he takes, right? Every move he makes, I'll be watching him. And that has that's kind of the cycle you go through with this. And he didn't really realize how that was going to end up negative for him. It had some negative consequences in Japan, but certainly it's gotten even worse in Korea.
Was insufficient to effectively communicate. So they asked him to travel with them to the police station to meet an interpreter. This request greatly upset Johnny, who claimed to be a victim of racist persecution.
USA Embassy, I will go. This is racism.
Despite this supposedly unfair.
By the way, it's not racism, and the embassy isn't going to help you. And by the way, even if it was racism, that isn't necessarily illegal in other countries. Fun fact.
Treatment. The police officers here were both patient and kind, and even escorted him to a nearby taxi and allowed him to leave. This should have been Johnny's sign to leave the country and return home, as it was clear that nobody wanted him there. However, likely blinded by the prospects of capitalizing on his recent infamy, he chose to stay. Unsurprisingly, a long string of encounters with Japanese citizens would occur over the coming months. A short while after this fiasco, Johnny was once again attacked in the street.
Right now, hop in Discord. Oh, whoa, what the?
In only a few weeks, Johnny had managed to find himself not only as the most hated man in Japan, but also one of the most hated on the entire internet. Many were calling for his immediate deportation, while others were hoping for a potential jail sentence instead.
Which once again, you're seeing the mirrors here of like people were really hoping they could spend time behind bars.
Whether it be due to the immense backlash or the increasing hostility he was facing, Johnny seemed to believe that remaining in Japan was untenable for now. So he opted for a quick trip to Bali before returning, but not to Japan, but instead...
By the way, I think it was in Bali. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said he like slept with a lady boy in Bali. I think that's part of the record. I just want to add that. That's a totally legal comment that I'm adding to the record.
To Thailand. Despite his fears of unsavory consequences for his actions, Johnny had no intention of cleaning up his act. One of his main reasons for even visiting Thailand in the first place was to potentially come in contact with Ice Poseidon, the original IRL streamer.
So there you have the cross paths of Ice Poseidon. He was trying to kind of clout jack off of Ice Poseidon, which is kind of what a lot of these streamers do, is they try to model Ice.
And as luck would have it, Johnny would find the perfect opportunity to introduce himself. In late June of 2023, Ice Poseidon was enjoying dinner with his girlfriend at a restaurant in Thailand. A fellow streamer, not with his group, eventually approached the table and began having a discussion, before stripping down his clothes to reveal a set of women's lingerie.
Which is totally illegal, and to stream it is totally not okay.
One of the staff graciously asked the man to put his clothes back on, which he did listen to. However, Ice decided to remove his clothes shortly after and put the underwear on himself. Ice then proceeded to comedically give his girl...
So Ice Poseidon was told not to do something and didn't do it. It wasn't like, oh, it was accidental. He did it after being told not to do it, which, yeah, that definitely didn't go well for him here. You're gonna see that part of the legal saga.
Girlfriend a lap dance, while his friend kept their private dining room door locked. If you did something like this in the United States, you would probably be kicked out of the restaurant in the worst case scenario. However, in Thailand, they handle disturbances like this very differently. The general manager,
It was also streamed, which is a big deal. It was streamed.
along with a handful of security guards, burst through the doors and confronted the group immediately.
And I would like all of you to go to the police station now. If you are doing something like this, it's unrespectful for Thai culture.
No, we're not doing any of that.
We don't do it.
No, it's not like that. We're not.
I see the photo, and all of them have CCTV.
With the police on their way, the manager continued to scold the group for their behavior. Meanwhile, Johnny Somali was streaming nearby, and his chat informed him of what was happening. So he made his way to the restaurant with the intention of saving Ice Poseidon.
I'm here as a lawyer. Listen, I have to save Chris.
Can you please turn off your live stream?
Oh no, it's not on. It's on.
It's not
It's
off.
live.
Please get out.
We have to save. I'm here. I'm the lawyer.
They're not dumb. They knew immediately it was not off.
Johnny quickly made his way out, and Ice and his friends were taken to the police station a short while after. Of course, he wasn't done stirring the pot from there. He decided that he should visit the police station in the hopes of protesting the arrest, although the police standing by refused his request to meet up with the group, and he was eventually told to leave. The issue with Ice and his trip to Thailand would linger for some time, with him spending a few months in jail before finally being allowed to leave. However, for Johnny, the moment had ended as
And now banned for probably life. So yeah, Ice is not coming back here probably for life, especially after a lot of what he said.
as soon as it started. And oddly enough, it was probably the least severe moment of his career thus far. But I'm sure you can guess that he would be back to wreaking havoc in his current stomping grounds. While Ice was still in police custody, Johnny was informed by his chat that a previous collaborator of Ice Poseidon, Burger Planet, also affectionately known as Burger Andy, was nearby eating dinner outside. So he decided to provoke him.
Get the out of here.
This interaction seemingly wasn't enough for Johnny, and a few days later, he would confront Burger Planet once again. Johnny was made aware that he, as well as infamous live streamer Sam Pepper, were hanging out at a nearby restaurant. With the intention of potentially farming a few extra clips, Johnny certainly got a lot more than he expected.
Come on, bro. There's a beautiful gift for you guys.
Get out of here. Leave
Hey,
us
man,
alone.
shout
We
out
don't want
Eddie,
it to
dog.
be
Shout out Eddie.
And this is a common thing where nobody wants anything to do with Johnny Somali. You know it's bad when IRL streamers don't want anything to do with you.
Clips like these really go to show just how despised someone like Johnny Somali had already become. Burger Andy and Sam Pepper are by no means well liked within the live streaming sphere. In fact, they're probably some of the most disliked people you can find in the entire community. And yet, nearly everyone was on their side for this interaction. Regardless of how much of a nuisance Johnny was being, it was unbelievably satisfying for viewers to see him humbled in a manner like this. But by that same token, Johnny was giving people exactly what they wanted. It didn't really matter who came out of each situation as the winner or the loser. All that truly mattered was how many eyes he could attract to his platform. But just because Johnny was finding success stream sniping other creators didn't mean his encounters with strangers were over, with an English-speaking man who was married to a Japanese woman directly confronting him for his behavior.
You go there insulting people like that. You know how many people died from Hiroshima joking about that?
I know.
So why are
I
you joking about the
apologize.
people?
I was drunk. I was drunk. I know
You know how many families suffered, people suffered because of that? You're on the train harassing people like that?
I was drunk.
In my research, I've never heard Johnny defend his outburst on the subway as a byproduct.
And he wasn't drunk at all. Like, it's clear watching the video, he was not drunk at all. Now, he is drunk in many of the things he does in Korea. That we actually know. He has been drunk for that. But by the way, being drunk is not a defense to this.
Product of being drunk, so I'm pretty sure this is a lie he made up on the spot in fear of getting beat up. Johnny would
And that dude is definitely jacked, by the way.
be recognized again while walking through the streets in Thailand, this time by a young couple having drinks. While the man just verbally berated him, the woman got a little more physical.
Oh, well, also, I'm pretty sure, let me go back. This is probably somewhere where he shouldn't be filming. This is probably somewhere he shouldn't have been filming.
This girl, who was almost certainly drunk during this encounter, likely didn't realize that her outburst only benefited Johnny in the long run. The same can't be said for his next encounter. A short while later, Johnny would be recognized by another English-speaking man while roaming the streets, who wouldn't show nearly as much restraint as his last two encounters.
No.
No.
Clearly, Johnny's attempts to dodge confrontation by fleeing Japan did very little in solving the issue, so he figured he might as well return to where it all started. If he was going to get perpetually beat up and screamed at regardless of where he went, he may as well do it in a place where he can farm as many clips as possible. While in Thailand, he claimed that he intended on returning to Japan in the hopes of apologizing to its people.
I'm going back to Japan soon, so I can make a proper apology to the Japanese people.
Following through with this promise. Unless, of course, he felt as though twerking in the middle of a subway the second he arrived in the country was a proper way to apologize. Johnny's second trip to Japan would somehow manage to be even more chaotic than the first. Now accompanied by a fellow streamer named Gino, Johnny was reinvigorated to get back out there and start ruffling some feathers, which he quickly got to work on. A notable moment early in their second trip came when Johnny, along with Gino, decided to stop by a McDonald's at 1 a.m. Very early into entering the store, Johnny is extremely rude and makes a racist remark about the Japanese language.
What does this say? Yo, this in Mulan language. What does it say? This is in Mulan language. What does it say?
While ordering his food, Johnny is unnecessarily loud and verbally aggressive to the woman taking his order. However, things get worse when a different employee brings them their food, but requests them to not point the camera at him. Of course, Johnny immediately points the camera towards the employee, causing them to walk away with their food and promptly call the police.
Give me the food.
I'm getting you on camera, bro. Just give me the food. Bro, just
We already paid for the food. This is the food.
Whoa!
Johnny and his friend decide that it's appropriate to start yelling and screaming belligerently before charging back into the store and demanding their food. Likely getting sick of their incessant nagging, the employee caved and handed them their order. However, as they began walking out of the store, a man on a bike confronted him. Johnny clearly shows a disregard for anyone who isn't himself, prioritizing any viral moment or snappy headline to potentially get him a few extra subscribers. With the news that Johnny Somali was back and terrorizing anyone he could, it's no surprise that the local citizens and visitors alike became far more aggressive towards Johnny.
All you have to say
Don't grab nothing. Oh,
Got him.
With two clean...
That was a Hadouken level punch. But once again, it's after he's done all these things. Johnny likes to make it out like these things and these incidents come out of nowhere and that people react like this for no reason. He's just innocent little Johnny parading down the street. You can see it's not. It's after he's gone after, people maliciously, and he's gone off on these nuisance campaigns, and only after he's been in the country and done so much wrong do people escalate like this.
Clean punches, both Johnny and Gino were knocked out cold. As they regained consciousness and picked up their cameras, it's clear to see that Johnny's mouth was visibly bloody from the encounter. For most people, getting punched in the face multiple times in public would be a big wake-up call. A moment of clarity to realize that the path you're on is the wrong one, whether it be because you want to do the right thing and stop being a nuisance to everyone around you, or because you just want to keep all of the teeth in your mouth. It's the time to quit. But this did not deter Johnny by any means. One of the main reasons.
We finally got Ranky. We're coming to Ranky, guys. We're getting to the Ranky sector. Get ready for Ranky, everyone.